On her last night shift, the nurse was given one rule: never enter room 11. She thought it was a joke at first. Hospitals always had rumors, especially old ones like this. Stories passed between staff to scare new hires, to make long nights feel less empty. But something about the way the head nurse said it felt different. There was no smile, no exaggeration, just a quiet, serious warning. "Whatever you hear," she said, adjusting her gloves slowly, "you do not open that door." That was the only explanation she got. The building itself didn't help. The asylum had been standing for decades. Long, dim corridors stretched endlessly in both directions, the walls painted in a pale color that had faded into something sickly over time. The lights flickered, just enough to make you question if they were failing, or if something was moving between them. It was her third week on the job. Up until then, everything had been normal. Quiet nights, routine checks, the occasional restless patient. Nothing unusual. But that night felt different the moment she stepped inside. The air was heavier, still, almost like the building itself was holding its breath. She signed in, picked up her clipboard, and began her rounds. Most of the patients were asleep. A few sat silently in their rooms, staring at nothing in particular. One of them, a man in his late 50s, followed her with his eyes as she passed. As she walked by, he whispered something. She stopped. "Did you say something?" The man tilted his head slightly, his expression blank. Then, in a low voice, he said, "It knows you're new." A chill ran through her. "Who does?" But the man didn't respond. He just slowly turned his head back toward the wall. She stood there for a moment longer before continuing down the hall. Room 11 was at the far end. She hadn't noticed it before. Maybe she had walked past it without thinking. But now, knowing what she'd been told, it stood out. The door was different. Unlike the others, it had no small window, no label, just a solid, reinforced surface with a faded number painted on it. 11. She paused in front of it. Nothing, no sound, no movement, just silence. She let out a quiet breath and continued her rounds. An hour passed, then another. Everything remained calm until she heard it, a faint sound. At first, she thought it was coming from one of the patients, maybe someone talking in their sleep. But as she stopped and listened, she realized it was coming from the end of the hall, from room 11. It sounded like knocking, soft at first, almost polite. She stood still, trying to make sense of it. Then it came again. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps. Her heart started to race. She remembered the warning. "Whatever you hear, do not open that door." She forced herself to turn away. It wasn't her responsibility. If something was wrong, someone else would handle it. That's what she told herself. But the knocking didn't stop. It grew louder, more urgent. Knock, knock, knock. She walked faster now, trying to distance herself from the sound. But then, "Hello?" The voice was faint, weak, coming from inside the room. "Please, help me." She froze. That changed everything. This wasn't just a noise anymore. It was a person, or at least, it sounded like one. She looked down the hallway, empty, no other staff in sight. The voice came again. "Is someone there?" It sounded desperate, afraid. Every instinct she had as a nurse told her to respond, to help. That was her job. That was why she was here. Her hands tightened around the clipboard. She took a slow step back toward the door. Then another. The knocking stopped. The hallway went completely silent. She stood in front of room 11 again, her heart pounding. The voice was gone. For a moment, she thought it was over. Then, a soft whisper. right against the door. "You're not supposed to be here." She stepped back instantly. That wasn't the same voice. This one was different, calmer, almost amused. She swallowed hard. "This is the night shift nurse," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "If someone's in there, I need you to respond clearly." No answer, just silence. Her mind raced. Was there a patient inside? Had someone been locked in by mistake? Why hadn't anyone mentioned it? And why would they tell her not to open the door if someone needed help? None of it made sense, unless they knew something she didn't. She looked around again, still no one. The hallway felt longer now, darker, like it was closing in around her. She turned back to the door. Her hand slowly reached toward the handle, just to check, just to make sure. She didn't have to open it fully, just enough to see. Her fingers wrapped around the cold metal. For a second she hesitated. Then, the voice returned, right behind the door. But this time, it was her own. "Don't open it." She froze. Her grip tightened. Her breath caught in her throat. That was impossible. She hadn't said that. Had she? She stepped back, shaking her head. No, this wasn't real. It couldn't be. But then the voice spoke again, perfectly matching her tone, her rhythm, her fear. "You already know what's inside." Her chest tightened. She turned and walked away quickly, faster this time, almost running. She didn't stop until she reached the nurse's station. Her hands were trembling. She tried to steady her breathing, think logically. There had to be an explanation. There always was. Maybe it was stress, fatigue, the building, the stories. They were getting to her. That had to be it. She poured herself a glass of water, took a long sip, and tried to calm down. Minutes passed. Then, the lights flickered. Once, twice, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed the hallway. Her heart started pounding again. "Hello," she called out. No response. Then, slowly, the backup lights turned on, dim, red, casting long shadows across the walls. And at the end of the hallway, she saw it. Room 11. The door was open. Just slightly, a thin line of darkness visible through the gap. She stared at it, her mind screaming at her to stay where she was. But her feet moved anyway. One step, then another, drawn toward it. The closer she got, the colder the air became, until she was standing right in front of the door. It creaked softly as it opened a little more. She didn't touch it. It moved on its own. Inside, it was completely dark. No lights, no movement, just emptiness. Or at least, that's what it looked like. Until her eyes adjusted, and she saw the figure, standing in the corner, perfectly still, facing her. It didn't move, didn't speak, but she knew it was watching her. She tried to step back, but she couldn't. Her body wouldn't respond. And then, it stepped forward, slowly, its face still hidden in the darkness. But as it got closer, she realized something. It wasn't just watching her, it was copying her. Every small movement she made, it mirrored perfectly, like a reflection, but delayed, wrong. Her breathing became uneven. She took a step back. It took one forward, closer now, too close. And then, in a voice that sounded exactly like hers, it said, "You shouldn't have come back." The lights snapped on, bright, blinding. She gasped and covered her eyes. When she looked again, the room was empty. The door was closed. Everything was normal, like nothing had happened. The next morning, she didn't show up for her shift. No call, no message, nothing. When the staff checked the records, they found something strange. There was no room 11 listed anywhere in the building plans. No records, no patient files, nothing. But the hallway still had a door, and sometimes, late at night, staff say they can still hear knocking, slow, deliberate, 3 times, and a voice calling from inside, asking to be let out. You're standing in a hallway that hasn't seen a flashlight in 40 years. The air here isn't just cold. It feels heavy, like it's holding a century of breaths that never escaped. You've seen the floor plans. You've counted the windows from the outside. According to the blueprints of St. Jude's Asylum, there should be a door right here. Between the isolation ward and the head nurse's office, there's a 12-foot gap. But there's no door. Instead, there's a wall. Not the normal plaster walls of the ward. These are red clay bricks, stacked roughly, the mortar sloppy, like someone was in a rush, shaking with fear. Why would you brick up a room in a hospital? You don't do it for a leak. You don't do it for asbestos. You do it because whatever is behind it is something you never want to see, hear, or speak of again. Tonight, we aren't just looking at the wall, we're going behind it. Before we pick up the sledgehammer, you need to understand where you are. St. Jude's wasn't a place for healing. In 1924, it was a dumping ground. If you were a difficult patient, if medicine didn't work, if treatments failed, or if you saw things the doctors couldn't explain, you were sent to Ward 9. Even in Ward 9, there were rumors of the gap. Nurses' logs from 1948 are the last records. They describe a patient, patient 402. No name, no diagnosis, just a note. The screaming has stopped, but the scratching is getting louder. Dr. Aris says the only cure is masonry. 2 days later, the bricks were laid. For 80 years, patient 402 stayed hidden behind that wall. The first hit of the sledgehammer shakes your arms. Dust puffs out, smelling like copper and old paper. A tomb-like smell. You swing again. A brick loosens. You pry it out with a crowbar, and the air rushes out. A cold, stale gasp. It's like the room has been holding its breath since the Truman administration. You shine your light through the hole. At first, you expect a bedroom, a bed frame, maybe a chair. But your light hits nothing, just darkness that swallows the beam. You widen the hole, brick by brick, the clatter echoing down empty corridors. You crawl through. Your boots crunch on something brittle. You look down, expecting glass. It's not glass. It's a carpet of dead moths, piled inches deep, their wings turned to grey powder. The room is bigger than it looked on the blueprints. The walls aren't painted. They're covered in scratches. Not words, but symbols, dug deep into stone. Whoever did it must have worn down their fingernails to the bone. In the corner, there's a bed, but not a hospital bed. A cage, a heavy iron crib bolted to the floor. The bars are bent outward. You walk closer. Your heart is hammering. The smell has changed. It's not just dust. Something sweet. Something organic. On the floor next to the cage, there's a tray of food. A bowl of some kind of gruel and a cup of water. The water isn't evaporated. The surface is still shimmering. The gruel isn't moldy. It's steaming. 2 thoughts hit you at once, and both make you want to scream. There are no windows, no vents, no way in or out. If that food is hot, someone put it there recently. But the door was bricked shut. You saw the mortar. You broke the seal. Near the cage, the floorboards aren't flush. You kneel, moving the moth dust, and find a hidden seam, a trapdoor. It doesn't lead to the hallway. It leads down, into the crawl spaces beneath the asylum. The asylum didn't brick this room to keep the patient in. They bricked it up to hide the fact that they were still feeding something that wasn't human anymore. A sound comes from the trapdoor, a wet, sliding sound. Something heavy being dragged. Thump, slide. It's coming up. You scramble back toward the hole. Your flashlight flickers, the battery dying because the air is strange. You push through the hole, scraping your shoulders. You look back once. A hand reaches out from the trapdoor. Too long, too many joints. The skin is sickly, translucent, like a mushroom grown in the dark. You don't wait to see the face. You run down the hallway of Ward 9, past the empty nurses' station, past rusted gurneys, until you burst into the night air. The next day, you go back with the camera crew and the police. You find the room. The hole you made is there, but the room is empty. The cage is gone. The writing on the walls has been scrubbed clean. The moths are gone. The trapdoor, welded shut with a sheet of steel that looks 100 years old. You check the footage. The SD card is corrupted. All you have is the memory of that smell, the copper, the dust, and the steam from a bowl of food that shouldn't exist. St. Jude's is being demolished next month. People will sleep where that cage stood. They'll eat breakfast over that trapdoor. And in the middle of the night, they'll hear a wet, sliding sound from beneath the floorboards. Some things are bricked shut for a reason, and some things use the bricks to keep the rest of us out while they grow. Check your phone. Right now, look at the last photo you took with your friends. Now, count the heads. 1, 2, 3. Everything looks normal, right? But what if you counted 4? And what if that fourth person wasn't someone you knew? What if they weren't even there when you took the photo? Tonight, we're talking about Blackwood Asylum, a place where reality doesn't feel right. A group of 4 explorers went inside to record the ruins. They took 54 photos that night. By the time they reached the exit, there were 5 people in every single photo. And the worst part, the 5th person was getting closer in every frame. Blackwood wasn't a normal abandoned hospital. It was a private place for dangerous patients. It's been locked since 1974 after a system failure, which basically means everyone died and no one knows why. You're with the group. Mark, the cameraman, Sarah, the leader, and the twins, Leo and Jax. You're the 5th member. You've got flashlights, cameras, and that nervous feeling in your chest. You take the first group photo at the gate. Say trespassing, Leo jokes. The flash lights up the rusted metal. You check the photo. There's someone behind Sarah. Just a blur. Tall, pale, wearing what looks like a hospital gown. You laugh it off. Maybe it's the light. Maybe dust. But when you step into the lobby, the temperature suddenly drops. Your breath becomes visible. You take another photo. The figure is there again. This time, it's clear. It's a man, bald, pale skin, standing in the corner, and he's not looking at the camera. He's staring at Mark's neck. You stop the group. Mark, did you bring something with you? Mark looks confused. You show them the photo. Sarah gasps, because in the picture, the man is only a few feet away from them. But when you look at the actual room, nothing is there. Just empty walls and old papers. We're leaving, Sarah says quietly. But the layout has changed. The hallway you came from is gone. Now it's a dead end. The only way forward is through the surgical wing, Mark keeps taking photos, trying to stay calm. Click, click, click. You scroll through them. In the first photo, the man is far away. In the second, he's closer. In the third, he's only a few feet away. In the fourth, he's standing between Leo and Jax. His hand is resting on Leo's shoulder. Long fingers, broken nails. You look at Leo. He's right next to you. Don't move, you whisper. Leo's face turns pale. I feel cold, he says, like ice on my back. You look at his shoulder. There's no hand, but his jacket is pressed down, like something invisible is touching him. Now you're running. Your flashlight shakes as you reach an operating room. The door slams shut behind you. No handle. Take another picture, Jax yells. You raise the camera, hands shaking. Flash. For a split second, the whole room lights up, and you see him, not in the camera, with your own eyes. He's standing on the table. His mouth is hanging open too wide. His eyes are black. He's leaning over Mark. Darkness again. Mark. No answer. You take another photo. Mark is gone. His camera is on the floor. Broken. You pick it up and check the last picture. It's a selfie. Mark is crying. Behind him, the man is wrapped around him, like a hug. His mouth is next to Mark's ear. There's text on the image. I need a new face. Now it's just 3 of you. You, Sarah, and Jax. You find an elevator and rush inside. We have to go back for Mark, Jax says. Mark is gone, Sarah replies. You scroll through the older photos. Back to the first one at the gate. Your blood runs cold. There wasn't just one extra person. There were dozens. In the trees, in the windows, on the roof. This place isn't haunted by one thing. It's full of them. Then you check the latest photo. The one you just took in the elevator. There are 4 people inside. You, Sarah, Jax, and Mark. But he doesn't look human anymore. Pale skin, black eyes, standing right behind you. You feel cold air near your ear. Did you get my good side? The voice sounds like Mark, but it's inside your head. The elevator opens. You run. Through the lobby, out the gates, into the night. You collapse on the road. You made it. You look at Sarah and Jax. They're alive. We're out, Jax says. You look at the camera in your hand. You want to destroy it, but you need to know. You set a timer. 1 last photo, you say. The 3 of you stand together. 3, 2, 1. Click. You check the photo. No one is there. The road is empty. On the ground, there are 3 hospital gowns, and standing over them is a man holding a camera. You look down at your hands. They aren't yours anymore. Long, pale, wrong. You're not the explorer anymore. You're the extra person. Somewhere far away, another group is walking toward Blackwood Asylum. They're about to take their first photo. And you're already in the frame. The next time you take a group photo, don't just look at your friends. Look at the background, the shadows, the windows. Because if you count one more person than you should, it's already too late. They're not joining your photo. They're replacing you. Which story was the best? Comment below and subscribe for more.